Well, hello everybody. I hope you guys are having a great start to your day. And well, we're gonna have a great start to our day. You know, I really probably should pan around this room and show you all the unfinished projects around this room, but I'm kind of embarrassed to do so, so I'm not gonna do that today. But with me starting with this way, you know where this is going, don't you? Yeah, it is. Instead of working on a project that I've already got going that I really need to finish, I'm not going to forget about them. I'm going to finish them. But today is not that day. Today, we're starting a new quilt. And well, I just have this problem of, well, it's not a problem, but I have this thing of when I see a quilt and I think, I really should make that quilt. I really want to make that quilt. So that's what I'm doing today. I saw a quilt that I wanted to duplicate and I love it. I mean, I love it. Let's get started. I've already cut my fabrics and that's like the biggest project in this whole quilt. The rest of it is free sailing after that. The picking of the fabrics and the cutting of the fabrics, that's your hardest thing. So if you don't think you can do a quilt, stick with me on this one. You can. This one is, you need 3 pieces of fabrics. And I've already got them cut and bagged up. So that way I can keep it organized. But I've got 1 bag of fabrics of nothing but 4.5 inch squares. These are just 4.5 inch squares of miscellaneous prints. And the prints that I'm using in this, part of them are scraps and part of them are leftover fabrics from a Jen Kingwell project. And then some are added new Jen Kingwell fabrics, just because we had it and I'm still using that, plus the fabrics I already had. So it's kind of a mix for me between new fabrics and scraps, but you could do it either way. You could do new fabrics, you could do scraps, or you could mix it up like I am. Anyway, let's get started and I'll stop rambling. These are my 4.5 inch squares. Then I've got a bag of 2.5 inch squares. Then I've got a bag of 2.5 by 4.5 inch rectangles. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna make one of my favorite blocks. I've got a lot of favorite blocks, but you guys know that I love a star block. Well, we're doing a star block. This one is going to be a Scrappy star block, but let me show you what I'm doing. Normally with the star blocks I've done in the past, like I did that polka dot stars with the gray background that everybody loved. That one was great. It was fun. That was a really fun one. But all the backgrounds were the same. This one is not going to be that way. This one, all of it is Scrappy. Let me show you how one of them turned out. There's one. Here's another. Another. Now you see how none of these are white backgrounds, whatever. No, they're all Scrappy. So I've got probably 10 made, which is not a whole lot, but it's a start, right? I mean, I got to make 64 of these things. I think that's a pretty good start. So now we're going to keep working on it. And I'm going to show you how to do it if you don't know already. It is an easy block to put together. And well, let's get started. So here's the block we're needing. We are going to need, for each block, we're going to need 1 of the big squares. We're going to need 8 for the star points, 8 of those little 2.5 inch squares. And then we're going to need 4 of the 2.5 by 4.5 inch rectangles. And then we'll need 4 of the matching 2.5 inch squares. So let me repeat that. You'll need 1 block. You'll need 8 star blocks. You'll need 1 block for the center. You'll need 8 star points. And you'll need 4 corner pieces of the 2.5 inch blocks and 4 for the flying geese of the 2.5 by 4.5 inch rectangles. So once I've got those 4 pieces picked out to make my star, then I'm going to get started. This goes to the side for now. I don't need it yet. I'll take these two that don't match and I'll put them together in the form of a flying geese. So I'll put one like that and I'll stitch from here to here. Now, if it's easier for you, draw a line from here to here and then stitch on that line. What we're gonna do is we're gonna chain piece them and I'm gonna save my extra pieces. I'll show you what I'm talking about by that. Well, my needle came unthreaded, so let me fix that. All right, minor malfunction. Okay, so I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna draw this line from here to here and stitch it, or I can just stitch it if I'm comfortable doing that. So I'm gonna chain piece them. So I'll do one from corner to corner, and I'll just keep doing these until I run out of these 4 right here. And when you're stitching these, a quick little point, start from this side. Don't start from this side, because if you do, that point right there is easier to get stuck in this feed dogs right here. So start at the top of the middle of the rectangle and stitch down. You can do it either way, it's just the other one has a greater chance of getting stuck in the feed dogs of the machine. So keep going until you get all 4 done. And then what I'm going to do is I am just going to pull it out, or I can cut the thread, it doesn't matter. Turn it around and stitch a 1/4 inch on this side of the line, on the triangle end of the line. I'm going to end up cutting that off, but I want to show you why I'm stitching that. So I'm going to cut another 1/4 inch stitch on this line. It'll make sense in just a minute. Okay, then I'm going to cut my thread. Cut them all apart. And then we have these 2 lines right here, okay? The 2 lines we stitched. I'm going to cut right in the middle of those. I don't want to cut those lines we stitched. I'm just cutting in the middle so that when I open this up, I have my flying geese side for that side. And then I also have a small 1/2 square triangle. If you don't want to do that extra stitch, you don't have to do this. These are just extra pieces. But if you go ahead and do this, you've got this 1/2 square triangle that you can do something else with. And they're already pieced together. They're already lined up. Everything's ready to go. So this, I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do. I'm going to wait till the end to see how I like it. But I might take these and make a border out of them. Or I might make a whole different quilt with them. I'm not really sure yet, but I don't want to waste them. So that's what I'm doing. And then I'm going to iron them open. And I'm going to iron my flying geese unit open. So I've got this flat and opened, and I've got this like this. I'll do that for each one of these. And once you get them cut, then I'll iron them all open. And now I'll put these to the side. I don't need those right now. I just need these. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to do the exact same thing on this side. I'm going to start from this middle section because I don't want this stuck in my feed dogs right here. So I'm going to stitch from one corner to the other. I'll do the next one. And then I'll do the last two. Line it up right. Then I'll either cut the thread or I'll just pull it out like this. And I'll do the other side. Now let me just cut the thread. I'll stitch that 1/4 inch on the small side of the triangle again, like we did the last time. And I'm just doing the same thing I did to that one we just did. The other side. Then when I cut the thread, I'll cut them apart. I'll cut between those two lines we sewed. And since we're not using those little triangles right now, you could just set them to the side, not even iron them open. But I don't want to deal with them later. I want them done. So I'm going ahead and iron them open, so that if I use them now or if I use them later, they're ready to go. And now I've got my 4 flying geese, and now we're ready to assemble the block. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to put the rectangle section, the point of it, facing the inside of the square, like that. That forms your star. And then you'll take those other pieces and lay them like this. These are extras because I got some more blocks over here for using the same fabric again. So now my block is ready to sew together. So I'm going to break it into rows, and I'm going to stitch this to this. And by the way, let me show you. 4.5 by 2.5 should be these units. Then I'm going to stitch this. Everything's a 1/4 inch. And so that I don't have to cut my thread every time, I'll just do this row now. And then do this one. Then I'll cut my thread. Before I go further, I'll iron them open. You don't have to, you could iron them open at the end. But I like to break my ironing up, because y'all know I don't like ironing. But it's a necessary evil. So there's that. So now I'll just take this last piece and I'll stitch it on. Then I'll take these two to this, line them up, and stitch them. This one goes, you got an extra one there. This one goes here. Cut my thread, cut them apart, and iron them open. Then I've got this, this, and this, and I'll just line these up like this. I'll set that to the side. And I'll take this line those seams up, roll it to the top, grab my pins, pin that one, line this one up, roll it to the top. Let me do it again, make sure I got it right. Line it, roll it to the top, pin it. I leave my pins a little further out so I can just sew straight without having to pull them out right then. And then I stitch that 1/4 inch seam allowance. Make sure it stays lined up. Cut your thread, iron it open. And there's the top of your star. Now we'll take this and add it to the bottom, the same way we did the other one. Line those 2 seams up, roll it to the top. Same thing with this side. Pin it, and then stitch down that line. Just make sure you keep it lined up. And once you get that done, you're done with your block, minus one little step of ironing it open. And just like that, our block is done. So I'm going to keep going. I've got all these done already. I'm going to keep going until I get to about 64 squares, and I may at that point decide I want more. I may get less and decide I want to stop less, so we'll see. But right now on paper, it looks like I'm going to want to do about 64 of them. So I'm going to keep going, and I'll come back and show you what I've got done when I'm a little bit further along. One little tip for me was it made it go quicker and easier for me, was to go ahead and put these in sets. So when I said I needed the different pieces, these were the pieces I needed. I needed 1 big square, I needed 4 rectangles. Matching the 4 rectangles, I need 4 squares. And then I need 8 squares of an alternating print, which that will be my star points. So I need these 4 pieces. So what I did was I lumped them together. And here's a whole set. See, there's 1, there's 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, and then there's more. See, that's what I did. So now the hard part for me was done, the piecing them together, the putting the groups together, and then I just stacked them. And now I grab a stack, I divide it out. There's my 8, there's my 4 little squares, my 4 matching rectangles, and my big square. Now I leave this right here, and I'm ready to sew my squares together. Also, this way you can stack them up and have them ready like all these sets are, and just leave them on the table at your sewing table. And then when you got a few minutes and you want to come in and sew, just grab a stack and get to sewing. Saves a little time, makes it easier because everything's ready to go, and when I'm ready to sew, I just sew. I'm hoping this little tip helped you as well when you're making yours, and well, let's keep going. Now I have somewhere to go tonight, but there's going to be a sewing machine involved, so I need to take a project with me to work on. So what I'm doing is I am putting these into my little happy bag, and I will work on them tonight. So let me show you why it's called my happy bag. First off, the bag says happy, but you know why it's really happy? I have a backup in here. If I need a snack, I'm covered. So there you go. So now I'm gonna put these, you know, you gotta have chocolate with you at all times. I'm gonna put these in this bag, and then I am ready for tonight. Once you've completed your squares, then you're going to need to square them up. And so this is going to be an 8.5 inch square. Therefore, I want my ruler to be either 8.5 or larger. So I've got several rulers. This particular one is a Quilt in a Day square up ruler, and it's 9.5. So since 9.5 is bigger than 8.5, I can use it. I could use an 8.5, but this is the one I've got. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay it on the square, and this will show me this line right here at the 8.5 goes like this. So it tells me there I can see those sides. I can line the sides up here and then line this up and make sure that it fits in that square, and it does. So I'm going to take it and kind of even it on the block, making sure that I'm not cutting my points off. And then I'm going to cut these two sides, and what I'll end up with is just a little sliver. And you think that little sliver's not going to make a difference, but it will. So even if it doesn't look like it needs it, do it. So now you're going to turn it 2 times. You did it like this, and we cut these 2 sides. Now I'm going to 1, 2, and do it again. So I'll line this time, I'll line these 2 up, this side and this side, because that's what we've squared up already. And then I'll cut these 2 sides. What you need to make sure you do when you're cutting this, when you're about to cut these, make sure you put enough pressure on here that this is not going to move. So I put a pretty good amount of pressure before I cut, because I don't want that block to move or wiggle. And there we have a squared up block. Then when we get our blocks, I've got a bunch of them here already squared up. When we get our blocks, all we're going to do is sew them together. So I'm going to grab one and any other one, because they don't have to match. It's a Scrappy quilt, and because there's no top or bottom, I just put them together. Don't have to do anything else. I'll line this side up, and I'll stitch down this side 1/4 inch. Then I'll cut my thread. I'll iron it open. And then I've got 2 blocks that are sewn together. I'm going to do that with all of these blocks. And my particular quilt is going to be 8 blocks wide, because I've calculated they're 8.5 inch blocks. I know about how wide I want the quilt, and that equals for me an 8 block row. So I'm going to keep going. I've already got 1 row done, and this is what it looks like. And it's pretty wide. So that's how I determined how many I want in my row, was I just sewed a couple blocks together, and then when it got wide enough for my liking, that's what I determined was 8 blocks, and then I'm done. So I'll move on to the next the next row. Now I'm going to keep going with these until I get enough of the rows put together, and then I'll show you, once I get a couple more rows together, I'll show you how to sew those rows together, and then we just keep going until we get it to the size we want it. So I'm going to flip this one here, and I'm going to sew down this line, and then I'll keep going, and I'll come back when we are ready to sew our rows together. Not just our blocks, but our rows together. One thing I forgot to mention, because it's Scrappy, it doesn't really matter which block I do next. And I don't even need, in my opinion, I don't even need to put these on the design wall and map it out, because they're so scrappy. That's how I want it looking. And I don't have a lot of one color versus the other. If I had a lot, like say I had a lot of blues, then I might want to put it on the design wall or lay it down and map it out. But since I don't have any one particular color more than the rest, I don't need to do that. I am just sewing them together however they are in the stack. So I'll meet you back here when I get more done, and we'll sew our rows together. We've got another row done now, so what we're going to do is we are going to take one row and another row, and we're just going to flip them on top of each other. We'll pin one side, and then we'll go to that point right here where the one square ends and the next one meets. We'll match that seam up, roll it to the top, and then we're going to pin it. We'll do that for each square down this row. Line it up, seam to seam, roll it to the top, pin it. And when I pin it a little low so that when I'm doing my 1/4 inch seam, I'm not going to run over that pin. And I don't have to necessarily pull it out right then. A lot of times I do because I want to make sure I don't forget to get it out of there, but I don't have to. So I'm going to line my seams up about 1 inch down, then I'll roll it to the top. I'll pin it, and I'm doing this all the way down the row. And when I get done with this row, we'll stitch down this side at 1/4 inch. I've got them pinned, so I'm just stitching down this row at 1/4 inch. Take my pins out as I go. Once I get to the end of the row, I'll take it out from the machine and I'll take it to the ironing board and iron it. But I want to show you one thing. I'll bring my ironing board to me. When I'm ironing this open or anything, it's easier for me if I set the seam. So what I'll do is, I don't do this all the time, but if it's kind of bulky and it's got a lot of seams, then I do. So I'll press this once. Then when I open it, it lays flatter. Then I'll press it. So I'll do that all the way down this seam that we just sewed. Then I'll show you what it looks like. Now that I've got 2 rows put together, this is what they look like. So here's from one end. And you see it's pretty wide, so I think this is enough. This is all I'm doing across is 8. I don't know how many rows I'll do yet, but we will see. And I'm imagining it's probably gonna be 8 or 9, 7, somewhere in that range. We'll see. But this is what it looks like. And see how it makes this little square into this row? I just like how it pieces together. You focus on the stars, but you can break it down into other pieces too that it forms along the way. It forms a 4-patch, it forms these 2 flying geese. It's just really pretty. So I'm gonna keep going with my rows, and then I will come back and show you what the end product looks like. So now we've got our top done, and this is what it looks like. Don't you love it? Oh my goodness, I love it. Now I've cut some borders, and I'm going to go back to the sewing machine and I'm going to sew those borders on. So let's get started. This is the fabric that I have picked for my first border, and I've cut it 3 inches. Now you can do whatever you want to do, but I want my first border 3 inches. I don't want it too big, I don't want it too little. Then I'm going to put it like this, and I'm going to stitch from here to here across this piece of fabric, so that when I get it sewn on diagonally across, you can draw the line if you need to, but if you don't, then that's fine too. But once I get that done, then I just trim off this excess right here. That's Thomas in the background. Then you open it up and you've got your strip just like this. Now I'm going to do this with all of my strips. I don't go and calculate how many. I didn't calculate how many I need. I just cut some strips and I'll go back and cut some more if I need to. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew the strips that I have cut together, just like I showed you. And then we'll measure the quilt. And however long that is, that's how I'll cut this strip. And then I'll start pinning from the middle out and the middle out the other way. And I'm going to do that for all 4 sides. Then we'll come back and we'll do another border. I've got my border all the way around it now. And I'm going to show you again what I did. First off, I'll take this quilt and I'll fold it in half to put another border on. I'll do this for each border. I'll fold it in half. I'll find that center, which is right here. And I can either crease it like that, like I just did, or I can put a pin here. And that marks my center piece of this row, of this side of the quilt. Then I'll take this, which is measured to be the exact size of my quilt, and I'll fold it in half, find the center of it, which is right here, and I'll put a pin there or just a crease with my finger like I just did, and that's the center. Now, I'll take this piece back. That was my center. I'll match up my pins and pin them together, right sides together. Then I'll go from left to right or from right to left, whatever. I start in the center, I go to one side. He's having fun over there. Then I will go all the way down this side like that. I'll line it up, pin it until I get to this side. Then when I get all the way down this side, I'll start back at the center and I'll go the other way until I've pinned it all, and then I will sew a 1/4 inch seam down this side. I'll do the same thing with the opposite side, whether I'm doing the top and the bottom or the side and the side, but I'll do one of the other. So I'm doing this side, I'll do this far end other side over here. Then I'll go and do these 2 sides, the other 2 sides, the same way that I did the top and the bottom. And then my border will be on. All right, you ready for it? Here it is. I absolutely love this one. I love that there's no background color. It's all miscellaneous. I love that you focus on all the different things instead of one certain thing. I don't know. This is just going to be one of my favorites, I think. So now it's time to quilt it. Probably won't be till tomorrow, but hey, it's real soon. Now in the description below this video, I've got all the measurements. I've got how much I used for the borders, how much I'm using for the backing, everything. So if you have any other questions, let me know. But other than that, here's the quilt. I'm at the shop, so I'm kind of limited on the space to show you. But I hope you can get a good look at it right here. And now I'll show you the backing I'm going to use. This is the backing I chose. If you remember that border that I added on, the border is a very small scale of this same print. So now this is what the back's going to look like. It is going to be so cute. I hope to have this one quilted for Saturday morning's video so I can show you what it looks like then, but I'm about to put it on the machine, and then tomorrow I will quilt this one. If you make anything that I've made in a video before,
or anything similar, submit a picture to us. We'd like to see the different variations and how different they can be just from one person's fabrics to the next person's fabrics. It's so fun to see that. So if you make something like this one or the square in the square or anything that I've made, submit a picture to sewcharmingquiltshop@gmail.com. It's SEW charmingquiltshop@gmail.com. We would love to include it on Saturday morning's videos and to show other people the variations as well. And well, that's all I've got right now, but that's enough. That should keep us busy for a little while. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you make one. And until next time, happy quilting.